right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 9th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. It is 8:20, let's make it 8:24. Call the meeting to order. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, once again, welcome those of you who've ventured out tonight, those of you watching at home. We have a full board present tonight. We can conduct the business as scheduled. At this time, I will entertain additions or deletions to the agenda. And I'm going to petition the board for one addition to have our township attorney speak to give an attorney's report this evening. It's not on our normal agenda, so got my motion and Treasurer Van Oss's support to add a report from the Township Attorney. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Then we will add him after my report prior to the Township Manager's report. Thank you. Any other additions, deletions to the agenda? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. We'll proceed with the agenda as published. This time, I'll open the microphone to public comment, limited to items on the agenda from the public. That would be Mr. Page. Jerry, good evening. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Should be now.
Good evening, Jerry Page, 8139 Lake Road. I'd like to talk about the action item number 5, Communications Commission appointments. I understand that this is put on the agenda, not really sure why, but I'm sure I'll hear some more about that tonight. I just wanted to point out a couple of things. If you vote to defer appointments and reappointments, then that's basically the end of the Communications Commission as it's currently constituted. Just want to make sure you're aware of that 4 of the 6 current members would expire at the end of this month. That would leave, I believe, Uda and Lauren as the only 2 members. So congratulate Uda, she'll be the chairperson by default. There's been a number of letters written concerning this. There's been a lot of talk about it, and I'm interested to hear what has to be said. I will say that I'm a little disappointed from a personal standpoint that it's come to this. There just seems to have been a lack of communications with me personally. I don't think anyone's, well, I know no one's contacted me. None of the board members has talked to me individually, with one exception. When I did have a meeting with Lauren last week, we sat down and had a talk. That's really the only communication I've had that there was a problem, so I'm curious to see what's said tonight. Do you have any questions for me?
We just want your comments, Jerry. Mr. Page.
I have lots more, but I'm limited to 3 minutes, so I think I'll stop right here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Page. Other comments from the public present? Mr. Nielsen. All right, I'm going to make a procedural order here. How many do we have who would like to speak on this communication issue? Nobody else is offering.
No, we got 2 over there. That's cool. Got 2 more.
Okay, we have, all right, we can proceed. If it gets beyond that, I'm going to I have the option of allowing you to appoint 1 spokesman, and historically I've given 10 minutes for that spokesman, but I will limit public comment. So your options are either appoint a spokesman, I will give that spokesman 10 minutes to present, to make an extended public comment, or I will cut off public comment with the other 2 hands that have been raised. So anyone want to chime in? Do we want to appoint a spokesman for the group, or do we want to let the 3 people who volunteered proceed? All right, hearing no change, Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you. I've been sitting on the communication committee for a while, and I feel that we've added some value. We helped pick out the web page. It was a shame that it got launched before it had a pre-launch. I thought it should. Also, I was surprised that since we were sitting on the communication committee, we weren't invited to a meeting that discussed when it was going to be launched. I think it's very important that people from the community sit on committees and add their knowledge to ideas. Basically, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nielsen. All right, we had 2 more volunteers.
I'm going to give my time to our chairperson.
I know of no provision for allowing that, but it circles us back to the same place. Mrs. Walker?
Mrs. Walker, yes, Thorpe Court. The Communication Commission is the digital arm of the township. We have worked tirelessly for this new website. We made it a beautiful, informative, and welcoming site. Unfortunately, on the mobile, it's not doing so well, but we have no control over that. The Commission is charged with the most efficient and professional ways of communicating digitally between the township, government, and the Grosse Ile community. We are a volunteer family comprised of residents between 40 and 70. We are woven together with a common thread, the interest of our community, the desire to give back to Grosse Ile. We're educated, interested in our duties, and we work for free. I don't know what more can you ask for that. But I want to respond to the issue that, or the statement that came out about numerous statutes being changed. Could you address that right now, Mrs. Smith? You cannot. Well,
No, nor will I, nor will, this
that's
is
fine.
public comment.
Okay, then I'll move on with my time. A statute is a formal written enactment of legislation. Since December 31st, 2009, there have been no enactments of a state statute per the MPSC, Michigan Public Service Commission, regarding the 206 Public Act 480, the Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Act. This legislation promotes competition in providing video service in the state of Michigan. The MPSC has been the designated agency to implement the act. The MPC legislative liaison, Mike Byrne, and the analyst, Janet Schaefer, explained that they have 4 recommendations, not enactments, but recommendations that came out in their, they have an annual report. The recommendations are not really significant. One is just a sunset law on taxation that is a pass-through for enforcement of the act. They'll probably reenact it in the end of the year, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't affect our charter. The second point is the Commission recommends the legislation extend a due date of the Commission annual report from February 1 to March 1. Again, not a significant change. 3 and 4 basically are adding language to the act to register the name of the provider, description, anything they want to know about the vendor. And then the last one is if the vendor goes out of business, well, let us know. So those are the 4 things. I know of no statutes, and the legislative liaison told me he knows of no statutes. So that's why I'm questioning what was said in that email. Lastly, I ask the board to consider all the information that they have recently received from commissioners and vote down the item 5, action item 5, whose purpose is to defer the appointments and reappointments in the Communication Commission. I think we've done a hell of a job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. With that, there's time for one more. All right, if none offered, that will conclude public comment. We'll move on with tonight's agenda. No presentations scheduled. Consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Let me get there. Mr. Supervisor, I would like to recommend the approval of the consent agenda 14-130, which would include the approval of the minutes of the February 23rd, 2015 regular meeting, and approve the check register dated March 6, 2015.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Budney. Discussion among the board on the consent agenda. All right, none offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none offered. Consent agenda is approved. With that, we'll move to action items, and we'll hand the first one over to Mr. Trustee Buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to make a motion to approve a 5-year, 2-month contract with United Water Environmental Service, Inc. for operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant beginning February 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2020, contingent upon the DPS Commission's approval.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Buddy, seconded by Clerk Ranka. Fill us in, Jim.
Okay, well, first of all, the DPS Commission will be meeting tomorrow to look at this, and they're pretty much aware of what's been going on with it. Our contract with United Water was up at the end of September. We've been working with them, and I would like to point out, Gary Timmer is here. He's the director. Has worked very well with us to try and get a new contract, which we believe we have here. Just some of the, couple of the main points in the new contract. It's an increase of $800 a month in their fee. The time of it makes the contract in line with our fiscal year now. As I say, it was up in September, and that month came based on the negotiation of the prior contract. So we took care of that. A new feature that's interesting that's in the contract is we have an annual adjustment, and previously the annual adjustment was based on a CPI, on the CPI index. This contract has 2 indexes. One, the employment cost index, and for part of the increase, and then the CPI for the other part of the increase. Just as a note, I know when I first saw that, it took me back some, but I did a 10-year look at it, and in fact, if we had been under this, we would have actually had a lesser increase than what we paid over the 10 years. So it can work both ways. I'm not saying it's fair, is what I'm saying. So don't be scared by that. One of the other significant changes was laboratory work can be done by United Water either in Groseal's laboratory or in one of their other facilities, and we also managed to lessen some of Groseal's liability in this contract. That's it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is big. This is going to bind us for 5 years. So, discussion from the board. I'll just
let me throw one other thing.
Sure.
Mentioning the 5 years. There is also a provision in here to have 5 one-year extensions on this, so we can extend it for a year at a time for 5 times.
Right at the expiration of the original 5 years.
At the expiration.
Okay. Treasurer, Mr. Treasurer.
What is the percentage increase? I don't see the contract total, the original contract total. I mean, what does $1,000 a month equate to in percentage?
Okay, the 1,000 that was their request for 1,000. It's 800. It ended up being 800 in the contract. Lorinda, I don't have a percent.
$600 a year plus the CPI.
What I think Ted asked what the percentage was.
What is the percentage of $1,000 a month, which is 12,000, or 800 a month, which is?
It's less than 3%.
No, whoa. What do we pay per month to United Water?
Currently.
So divide your 800.
Who's got a calculator?
Yeah, should have brought it.
$31,631 a month. And we're looking for an $800 increase. Quick. Who knows Common Core math?
All right. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, thank you. I have concern on just a couple issues. First, the sequence. We're approving this to go to DPS, and if they approve it,
Yes.
it goes
Yeah.
forward.
And
We don't get a second look,
That is correct, because they're going to be
Unless
doing
we
this.
change it to
Yeah.
DPS.
unless DPS
Yeah,
changes something.
yeah.
And the other thing was just, and this is on discussions with our attorney on the liability insurance, where we're indemnifying them to some extent.
And what we
not-
get, that, the way, that is what was in there previously. What we added to that, and if you give me a sec, basically, we took that same liability, Lesnar, and put it for us also. So we're limited to our insurance. So we're not open-ended as we were before. And with more time we could have gone into that issue in more depth, and it should be down the line, but this is the best we can do at this time. Okay. And I think it's the fact that they have agreed to, if you will, a pot certain for our liability. It matches a pot certain for their liability. We're in pretty good shape.
Okay, other questions from the board? Eric? Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Why was it important to move laboratory services to off the island?
It's simply because they couldn't always do them here, and they have other labs in the area that they could, especially the main important things will be done here. It's the secondary, lesser important items that they might be able to move quicker if they did them off island.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was an expedience thing, because it seems like it would be quicker done on island, obviously, unless the staff is not here.
That's part of it, everything that's going on. So if that staff here who can do that is backed up doing something else, they can get it off island and get it done rather than waiting for them to have some free time.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Any other questions, comments from the board? Okay. The wastewater treatment plant. God bless you guys. Those in favor of approving a 5-year, 2-month contract with United Water Environmental Services Incorporated for operations and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant beginning February 1st, 2015 through March 31st, 2020, contingent upon the DPS Commission's approval. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? We'll move forward. Thank you, Trustee Budney. And Gary and the wastewater. You guys do great work. Okay, action item number 2.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to accept with regret the resignation of Ann Jaworowski from the Planning Commission effective March 9th, 2015.
Report.
Okay, moved by Clerk Rankin, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
So we had given a plaque of recognition to Ann for all of her service, both Planning Commission and ZBA, as well as other island activities at our last Planning Commission, and we're all sorry to see her move on from the Planning Commission.
Eric, how many years does Ann have?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's several over the past 30, different terms over the past 30 years.
Good luck to you, Ann.
Good
Thank
luck to
you
you,
for
Ann.
your service.
Any other discussion among the board? Again, we what can I say, just been a great township asset. And Ann, thank you. Those in favor of accepting with regret the resignation of Mrs. Ann Jaworowski from the Planning Commission, effective March 9th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Once again, Ms. Jaworowski, thanks. Many years of service. The island is better because of your efforts. Action item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to make a motion to approve with regret Mr. Bill Moreau's resignation from the Festival Commission.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith and seconded by Trustee Budney. Motion to accept. Mr. Moreau, would you like to expand a little bit from the Festival Commission?
Yeah, I think he, unfortunately, he turned in his resignation after serving on the Festival Commission for over 10 years. He has a scheduling conflict with another organization that he's affiliated with. And unfortunately, both of the meetings are on the same night. I think we got the short end of that straw draw. But anyway, he feels like he needs to spend more time with that organization at this particular time. And I know that all of us are heavy-hearted with it because he was one of the special guys that, was there for you, and he was kind of like the big dad. And he'll be missed, but the good thing is he has assured us that he will be there to help and support us and continue to volunteer some of his time at the actual festival event.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions, comments from the board?
Just one more. Bill is a neighbor and a friend, and had to be dragged into township work 10 years ago or so. He was rather reluctant to step up to it, but we got Bill working in places like the golf course, and he was a spearhead for things like the volunteer effort, which is showing its legacy today. And everything Bill touches, he works towards doing it at his very best. I know the organization is going to, and yeah, we did get the short end of the stick in the township, but thanks, Billy, for 10 years, and do well at the other place, too.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Posiask. Any other comments from the board? Other than I'm sure, we all deeply appreciate the effort that Bill's put in for the number of years, all the areas he's working, and let's keep him healthy so he can keep working on the golf course for us. You're not done yet, Bill. Anyway, with that, those in favor of approving Mr. Moreau's resignation from the Festival Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Once again, thanks, Bill. That motion carries. Mrs. Smith?
What's that? 3B.
3B.
Where is the resolution? Sorry. Sorry.
I'll go ahead and introduce it.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
make a motion to present Mr. Moreau, unfortunately he's not here tonight, with a certificate of appreciation.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith and seconded by Trustee Budney. Just a certificate of appreciation for Bill Moreau, and since my name's among it, I will read it. Whereas William Moreau has served on the Festival Commission for over 10 years, and whereas during Mr. Moreau's tenure on the Festival Commission, he has provided invaluable insight, commentary, direction, and experience as a member of this commission, and whereas Mr. Moreau has worked tirelessly for our community, representing the Township of Grosse Ile in the most professional manner, and now, therefore, on this date, March 9th, 2015, I, Brian Loftus, on behalf of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees, do honor and thank William Moreau for his commitment and dedication to Grosse Ile Township and to our island community. And it will be forwarded with signatures from myself, Clerk Ranka, and Trustee Smith. Once again, thanks, Bill. That'll move us on to action item 4.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Action item number 4 is to accept with regret the resignation of Roger Will from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, effective March 9th, 2015.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Posiask, seconded by Trustee Budney.
Mr. Will has been on the BPAC for about a year, and he's got a pretty demanding job, and at the last meeting he did tell us about the demands of the job, and I'm sure that had an effect. He did not give any reason in particular, but I wish him well. He was a resource to us.
Okay, any other comments from the board on Trustee Will? Previous Trustee Will. I'm reaching back into history. Roger did serve on the board. He's obviously a dedicated community volunteer. Only so many hours in the day. Any other comments from the board? All right, if none offered, those willing to accept with resignation the regret of Roger Will from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Roger, thanks again. All right. This will be my baby. Action item number 5. I propose the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees defer all appointments and reappointments to the Communication Commission pending an overall review of the commission charter.
Support.
And we have thank you,
Yes.
Trustee Budney.
Yeah, I also have an addendum to that.
And Mrs. Smith.
The addendum would read that the Board of Trustees conduct an ab initio research by determining the needs of our township administrator, and department heads, looking at what other communities are doing, inquiring with the Michigan Townships Association, consult with our legal counsel, and most importantly, addressing the needs and wants of our community on or before September 28th, 2015 board meeting.
Support.
Okay, well, that is moved and supported also, so we're, I've got to capture who's adding what. That will be the total motion then, both parts, A and the amendment. So,
Reread it, please.
sir?
Read it with the full motion.
Okay, so the full motion now becomes to defer all appointments and reappointments to the Communication Commission pending an overall review of the commission charter. And paragraph 2, the Board of Trustees will conduct an ab initio research to determine the needs of our township administrator and the department heads, looking at what other communities are doing, inquiring with the Michigan Townships Association, consulting with our legal counsel, and most importantly, addressing the needs and wants of our community, to be completed on or before the September 28th, 2015 Cossio Township Board of Trustees business meeting. So, the background. Changes in state statutes, which now is going to take some further research. Information technologies, expectations, which we're unsure of. Best interest of all involved to defer the appointments until we're sure what kind of communication capabilities we want, what we need, mostly what we need, what do the residents want. And the board's going to be more knowledgeable on this, review the expectations against current and future proposed changes to the charter, and carefully consider staffing for future requirements. I'm not going to reappoint people. I prefer, I'm only one vote, I would prefer not to appoint people to a commission and then dramatically change its charter. We'll get the charter straightened out first and then appoint or reappoint at that point in time when we know what's going to be expected. It would be foolish, unwise, reappoint you and then completely change your line of work. So with that, other discussion among the board?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Valvesto.
Excuse me, because we really haven't had discussion on this, what state act are we speaking of? And what are the changes within that act that we feel that we need to table our current communications department? These are very intelligent people. We trusted them with working on the website. They put in many hours on that, and I just don't know if it was the act that I'm thinking of. Act 480 of 2006, is that the one we're talking of?
Well, which one is that?
It pertains to the state communications laws.
The Metro Act?
If it goes into effect December 31st of 2015.
You're referring specifically to the Metro Act?
I just have the act number. I don't have the full title.
Well, I mean, that definitely impacts it.
But it's really a state. It's really a state act. It has nothing to do with our township.
Right, but
And
if
in
you
fact,
look within the charter, a lot of the language within the charter actually addresses specifically the tasks there's 10 tasks that the commission is charged with, and 2 of those are specific to that act. So with those being gone and not even being applicable, the responsibilities are less and less. I think, and I just want to remind everybody, especially here on the board and in the audience, is that this is just hitting the pause button, stepping back, letting us all take a look at what this commission's charged with and where to go from here, because I really feel that we can emerge stronger, more effective, more efficient, and better for it. And I think we most of the time, most governments don't take a step back and look at what they're doing.
Well, who would be analyzing this and suggesting changes?
Well, that would be all of us. It would be some research, we would convene, take a look at it, specifically by September 28th. And as Mr. Loftus had mentioned, it may very well look very different than what it is today, because we really do need to talk to all the folks that are involved, including the township administrator, including the department head, and not only the department head, but other department heads, to see what are they looking for? What is it that we need to be doing? Is it more IT focused? Is it more marketing focused? Is it more communications focused? There's a lot to it.
And I'm saying that there is a commission in place that we entrusted with the Grosedale website, and keeping them in place and charging them with doing the research and the analyzing would make far more sense to me. I believe it would be a disservice to the community to all of a sudden, for a 8-9 month period, not have a communications department. Because I really don't understand the basis behind this.
Well, I've been to 2 seminars at Townships Association on communication capabilities of municipalities, specifically townships. And the website is just one leg of a milk stool with potential unlimited legs. I think, Michelle Babcock put it as succinctly as possible. People have to go into the website to get information. There are many other technologies that push out information, and there's information we need to push out. And we need to look at the best way of making that happen. The public safety's first call is one method of pushing out information officially. A lot of constraints on that and some time limits. Facebook is a way that I push out non-official information, although it's my information and I keep it as close to supervisor position as possible. It's still unofficial. We need to look at all the ways possible to push out information as one leg of this many-legged support stool for the township. It's having the ability to go beyond just the website, and everyone agreed at the Townships Association the website is your main source of township position, but it's relatively static. We need look at other methodologies, and that would also include GITV, GI radio, and everything else that's out there. What's working? What do the residents want now? I don't know that. I know I've got a few hundred people that follow on Facebook. The township has its own Facebook page that Mr. Fournier maintains. I think we've got about 500 followers on that. We have 10,000 residents, 8,300 voters. Okay, so that number is way, way, way too low to push out the information that I think should be going to the residents. We also have a very involved clientele resident base, so we need means to keep them informed. Better ways to pay your bills. Better ways to access the township hall, either virtually. Well, it's going to have to be virtually because we've cut our staff so much that this electronic methodology can make up for a couple of personnel that we're not paying any longer. So I need that information, and I'm not comfortable with the way that information is coming across now. Here's a list of, I've got the list, the charter. I wrote the charter for the Communication Commission. I know what's on there, and we just need to revisit this. It seemed like the right idea at the time. It was at the time. It's not the right idea now. My position. Other comments from the board? I'm sorry. I'm still trying to answer your concerns, Tom.
I remember initially that you were in favor of this new website, and that each department head would have control of his own website, and that person would be responsible for maintaining their website and the information that's being pushed out. I believe that's correct on my part. Is that
remains correct? That's the content management system, and they have the various departments have a page within the website, and that the department heads have the ability to put out information they see fit, subject to review by the township manager.
And if that's not happening, then I would say we have to look at it and come towards it maybe from a different direction. But if part of that is what you're unhappy with, just a matter of instruction. We still can't be dumping everything on Ted and expecting Ted to make all the changes. And if things are slowed down, it's because you can only stretch Ted in so many directions. And I think that was part of your thought process, was streamlining it and letting those people take care of their own page.
Well, I want you to just start looking beyond the website. The website's up, yeah, it needs some tweaking, and continuous improvement will demand, we're always improving the website. But there are other methodologies of pushing out information that we need to get out, that we want to get out, that there may be a difference between those two items, and we don't know what the residents want. We can have the best means to push information out, either emergency or general nature, but if nobody's listening to it, I might as well just be talking into a bucket. We need to know what the residents want. We don't have a methodology of determining that, although we will be working on it. We just need to streamline this whole process. And we're not, with this charter, it's not giving this board the tools we need to task a group of volunteers to provide the product that I think we want. And I'm going to ask the board to support me on that. Other concerns? Other from the town, other comments, concerns? Mr. Treasurer? You raised your hand.
I did. I think everybody in this room knows how I feel about the commissions in this township. This township has been extremely successful for a number of years through the benefit and use of the various commissions who have done the homework, done the legwork, done the grunt work, and did it all for nothing, pay-wise. I also have had the opportunity to observe, and I'm going to cut to the chase. As far as the charter goes, I'm not a communications guy. But the problem is, as I see it, is there's kind of a loss of direction, whether it be members of the board, whether it be members of the commission. The communication is reached a point where I watched the last couple of communications meetings, and I really was not happy with what I saw. And it's obviously the members of the Communication Commission are not happy with the way things are going. Obviously there are members of this board that are not pleased with the way this thing is going. So when Brian suggested that we do a step back and take a look, I said I don't have a problem with that because it can't keep going the way it's going. I think it's counterproductive to the township, and I think it's creating some hostilities that don't need to be there. And I think we need to get a face-to-face with the people that can do this correctly. So I suggested to Brian that we put a date to it. He picked a date in September. I was hoping for something a little earlier than that. But regardless of the date, at least there's a date to finish this thing. And we do need to look at this because really it just can't keep going the way it's going. And I'm not laying blame on anybody. I'm not saying anybody's right, anybody's wrong. Because quite frankly, other than the last two times I looked at this, I've had very little to do with the Communications Commission, but it's pretty obvious for me as a resident that nobody's happy. So I guess it's time to step back and take a look at this thing. I would encourage and hope that the current members of this commission, although they're not going to be rechartered at this particular time, would sit in the face-to-face with the members of this board, and I would hope it would be the whole members of all the members of this board that have the time, so that when we walk away from this thing, we've got a commission that is functioning so that they're happy with the position they're in and we're happy with the position we're in. And I'm not trying to lay blame. I'm not trying to say anybody's done anything wrong, but it's really obvious if you sit back and look at the meetings that it's not running very smoothly right now, and we need to correct that. So That being said, I'd like to see it be a 60-day number, but it's not. That's Brian's prerogative, and there needs to be some research, and I think we need to move forward and get this thing resolved so that we have a viable commission. I certainly don't want to just end the Communications Commission, and if we don't put a completion date on it, that's what's going to happen. So if we put a completion date on it, that's going to force this board to come back to the public and to the commission and tell them what decisions were made. Whoever participates in the board, I don't know who that's going to be, I'll leave that up to Brian, but we need to bring that back to you, we need to bring it back to the public and say, this is our decision and this is how we reached it. So I guess that's all I got to say.
Okay, we're losing our fire chief. Good luck, Duncan. Other comments from the board?
Mr. Supervisor,
Wedding.
I agree with Ted. Watching the meetings and quite truthfully, even with the emails that I received the last couple of days, showed that I think this is the proper step to take. There certainly seems to be some miscommunication within the Communications Commission, and this is not a bad way to do it. I think we do have to look at the charter and look at what we want going forward. But we certainly need everybody to be on the same page. And although this is certainly a bump in the road, especially for you commission people, I think it's in the long run, it's the best thing for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Budney. Other comments from the board? Mr. Malvesto.
I have one last. When I see something to the effect that, let me get on the right line. It's important to convey to you that many board members and township administrators feel it's important to hit the pause button, take a step back, and in an effort to ensure community and the board's needs are being met. I just don't remember any discussion on this. Last board meeting, we did not have a open discussion meeting, but the week before we did talk about stepping back, taking a look at the recent, the current committees, and seeing if they could be maybe brought together, streamlined, more efficient. I asked at the time if we could set a date where we could have a true study session involving all that, and I know that a date was not set up, but when I read something like that, to me, if I was a citizen, it would sound to me like it had already taken a vote and it was already predetermined, and when in fact it has not. So mine is more of an objection of, again, what we weren't given a chance to hear the details, and other than to sit here and ask questions from our seats. So that's all I've got to say. I'm not comfortable with it.
Could I list you as more of a procedural objection as opposed to the intent of the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just need to know that going forward because I want to get this done right the first time.
Okay.
Mr. Posiask.
Just a couple of comments. I had been rather vocal personally over the last year about the quality of things like GITV, about sound and about picture. Some of those things have been fixed. There are some things left to be fixed, but it seemed like it took forever and ever and ever to get a response to the problem and an attempt to fix that. We had a promised launch date of our website, May 14th. That didn't happen until December. There is an expectation on my part, when you say you can do something, do it or explain why you didn't. And I guess I'm kind of a results-oriented guy, and I haven't seen the results. I'm just, I heard arguments ad nauseum about Wi-Fi when our television system wasn't working. and that troubled me. So, you've all talked about abstract things, and I tend to look at the concrete things. And I would hope that you on this commission and we of this township board can sit down together and get it figured out and get it straightened out and keep our promises to each other.
Thanks, Mr. Posias. Other comments from the board?
I'll just add really briefly.
Mr. Clerk?
So the commission was created, I don't know, a couple of years ago, basically morphed in from the cable commission to the communication commission. And, maybe that was the right thing, maybe that was the wrong thing. But I think clearly right now, Lauren's right, we need to take a step back and make sure that we've got a commission that is serving the right purpose, a purpose that we want it to serve. I do agree with Ted that the commissions are the backbone of the community and do all of the work. I firmly believe in that. But I also think that we do need to take a step back and make sure that we're pointing the commissions in the correct direction, and that as Ted had alluded to, no one's happy in the situation right now, and we need to fix that. And as a trustee, we have the responsibility of making sure that things are running smoothly. So I think this is a prudent course of action to take a pause, re-examine what we want this commission to be, and then make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Clerk Ranka. Other comments from the board? All right, with none offered, those in favor of deferring all appointments and reappointments to the Communication Commission pending an overall review of the Commission charter, and to conduct an ab initio research to determine the needs of our township administrator and department heads, to look at what other communities are doing, inquiring with the Michigan Townships Association, our legal counsel, and addressing the needs and wants of our community, to be completed on or before the September 28th, 2015 board meeting. Please, in fact, I'll ask for a roll call vote on this. And I will lead the roll call vote by voting aye. Mrs. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Posiask?
Aye.
Mr. Budney?
Aye.
Mr. Malvesto?
Opposed.
Clerk Ranka?
Aye.
And Treasurer Van Oss?
Aye.
That motion carries on a 6-1 vote. So thank you for your support on that. That concludes our action items tonight. We'll step to the clerk's report. Clerk Ranka.
Mr. Supervisor, clerk's report. We do have an election coming up on May 5th. We are looking for qualified voters may apply and receive absentee ballots for the May 5th election beginning March 23rd through Saturday, May 2nd at 2 p.m. Qualified voters may obtain an absentee ballot in person at the clerk's office until 4 p.m. Monday, May 4th. The ballots must be voted on the premise and turned back in before leaving Township Hall if they're taken out on Monday, May 4th. The last day for new voters, the last day for new voters, U.S. citizens turning 18 years or older on or before May 5th. New U.S. citizens, new residents to Groseal Township, and this is all to register to the vote for the May 5th election. All of that must be done by by April the 6th. Applications for registered voters interested in working as an election inspector, and we always need extra elections inspectors, are currently being accepted in the clerk's office until April the 3rd. And that's it for the clerk's report.
Thank you, Clerk Ranka. Treasurer's report.
Thank
Treasurer.
you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For the month of January, Groseal Township had a total of $15,486,791 invested in various accounts. These accounts generate an interest income of about $4,400 with an average interest rate of 0.33, which is, it's looking better. At least we're making some money on it. All 2014 unpaid real property tax are now considered delinquent and must be paid to the Wayne County with further penalty. Payments to Wayne County can be paid online at waynecounty.com/PTA. This site has update information, which includes the 2% Wayne County penalty. Payments to Wayne County can also be paid by mail or in person at 400 Monroe Street in Detroit. If you need any assistance in the online payment or anything, please don't hesitate to contact Annette. She'll walk you through the process. All delinquent personal property taxes for local businesses are to be paid to Grosse Ile Township. That's personal property tax. Statements will be sent out by our office in early April to those businesses with delinquent personal property tax. Now, the personal property tax has changed for those people that have personal property that's under $80,000. They can file a exempt form with the assessor's office. And I believe next year, I believe it kicks in next year, personal property tax is going to go away. So, but that doesn't mean if you haven't paid it 3 years ago that you still don't owe it. So, the Treasurer's Office has begun to compile tax rolls and data to balance and deliver the 2014 tax rolls to Wayne County. As of March 1st, we have collected 96% of our total 2014 tax rolls. And a detailed list of our expenditures and our savings are on my website, or you can come in and see Annette and she'll give a copy to you if you don't want to deal with the computer. And I'm off for vacation on Thursday, so have fun in the cold weather. I'm going to go away for a while. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. Begin with Trustee Buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. DPS meeting tomorrow. The big issue or the big item that we'll be talking about is our wastewater treatment contract. We have no ZBA meeting this month, and our ordinance enforcement pilot is moving right along. To date, we've had about 280 cases with 251 closed. So the other ones are in the pipeline. So thank you, residents of Grosse Ile, for trying to make Grosse Ile look as nice as possible. That's it.
I will not make the comment then. Thank you, Mr. Buddy. Ms. Posiask.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Number one, thank you to those who sent me an email or a quick message asking why I ran out of this building the last time during the last meeting. It wasn't because of you. My wife's mom had a heart attack, pretty significant one. She's back home, and again, thank you all for your concern. I appreciate that. Bike Path, we'll have a meeting next week, Tuesday. We are looking for public input regarding what we should be doing to our paths and bridges. We've discovered some things about our bridges that we've talked about at the last meeting. We'll flesh them out. But there's still some more work to be done on the bridges. But, soon the fountains will be set up and running, and the joggers will be jogging, and the trees are budding, and the crocuses I saw sticking out under the snow at my house. Keep the faith, folks, but be safe out there. Have a nice spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Posiask. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I think the last time we talked about Island Fest, it was like 10 below or something like that. And I think we're getting closer to spring, but save the date. Island Fest is May 29th through the 31st. So far, we've got over 30 crafters and vendors who have signed up just for space in the hangar, which is really good. We're still looking for volunteers, always looking for good volunteers to hang out and help us out with that big event. Several large sponsors have already come through, so it's really exciting to see some funds coming in. We're always looking for more sponsors and vendors, so if you want to sign up, information can be found on the Township website, or you can go directly to www.islandfestgrosseile.com for more information. I know it was mentioned the last time that the Island Cup is going to be here, and it is determined that there's going to be an additional 2,000 non-residents here on the island during that weekend. So it's really exciting to see people come from 5 different states to compete. So we're going to all have to put on our good Grosse Ile smiles. Second to last, the second annual Paint the Town, a.k.a. the Fall Festival, will take place on Saturday, October 3rd, which coincides with homecoming. So it'll be a bigger event this year, which will be really nice to have all the kids back from high school and whatnot. If you're interested in helping with that event, please let us know, because that's another second big event that we have to tackle, and the more people that help us out, the better. And lastly, I know Ted Fournier is probably at home. He had eye surgery today, so I'm sure he's not watching, but he's probably listening, and so I hope he's doing well. that concludes my
Thank you,
report.
Mrs. Smith. Mr. Malvesto?
Thank you. Randy, real quick, the date of the Easter egg hunt. I don't have the actual date.
Oh, it's on the flyer. It's Saturday the 28th.
March 28th.
Oh, no. I got the Easter egg hunt. It was a St. Patrick's Day dinner.
This Wednesday.
This one's the 11th. Okay. I just want to make sure I had the dates correct. All right, here I go. There'll be a St. Patrick's Day dinner at the Centennial Farm. It's Wednesday, March 11th, this coming Wednesday. And does that require pre-registration? There's going to be an Easter egg hunt on March 28th. That requires a pre-registration also. And that, well, I think that's $8. And, before I put my foot in my mouth any farther, but the tickets for both events are available at the recreation department. And then there's a pancake breakfast on the 10th and 12th. Pardon?
10, from 10 to 11. The pancake breakfast.
I just transposed it. I looked at the back number first. 10 to 12, right? All right. And those tickets will be sold at the door. $6 for adults, $4 for seniors, and $3 for children 12 and under. I get it right?
Saturday the 28th. Same, it's right, same
Yeah.
time as Easter egg hunt.
There's going to be puppy basics obedience classes they'll be on Mondays. The dates are starting March 16th and running through April 27th. So you got a 6-week period. It's going to be at the activity room at Centennial Farm. The fee is $90, and pre-registration is required as well. Proof of vaccinations, a 4-foot leash, flat collar, some sort of a treat or reward, and a puppy must be between 8 weeks and 6 months old. So this is really 4 puppies. The instructor is going to be Mark Allen. He's a certified dog trainer. Then there's going to be there's a new one, Fit Girl fitness classes. They're going to start on Mondays, March 23rd, run through May 11th. Another 6-week class. The time is going to run be 6 to 7 p.m. It's $48 a person. Centennial Farm Activity Room, and sculpt and tone your body to fun music. It's just another great service that Rec's going to provide.
Are we going to that time?
Work and Wally and myself sign up.
At the rec department.
At the rec department. No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malvesto. I'm going to have trouble topping that. All right, supervisor's report. Gosh, nice and quiet. First of all, thanks for waiting. We did post that tonight's meeting was going to start at 8 o'clock instead of the regular 7:30 because we knew the budget presentation to the board was going to go long. It did, and it went longer. So again, that's something we've got to get right. And you know, we're moving along. We're pretty much down to the final arm wrestling. We'll have a budget for you at the annual meeting, which will be March 23rd. We'll begin with a reception at 6:30. So come on over, have a few snacks, meet your trustees, tell us what a great job we're doing, tell us whatever you, come by and tell us what you think of us, meet the commissioners, ask about a commission you'd like to join, but stop by. I mean, we tax you twice a year. We're the first hands in your wallet. So come on and see how your township government works. Please come out and see us. That'll be followed by the business meeting where we set up basically how we're going to run the township for the subsequent year. And that's all good news. The only other thing is, I talked about how to push out communication. Apparently the best way is just to start a rumor. And the hot rumor right now is somewhere between I'm going to sell all the open space or we're going to move all the township-owned property as open space. And anyway, there's a lot of talk about selling township open space or township-owned properties, and the township board has talked about open space. We've talked about acquiring open space. We've talked about the township the properties that the township owns. There is no intent by this board at this moment to take any action on acquiring, divesting any open space or any other publicly owned properties. We are where we are, and we evaluate this all the time. It starts with Mr. Riem. He makes a recommendation to and from communication with the Open Space Commission. They eventually bring a possibility to us. We did have a meeting a couple of months ago with the chair of the Open Space Commission, but right now there is no action on open space. So if you heard a rumor from the school board meeting, or it was a planning session, I don't recall which one it was, there is no action being taken on this board on open space. We are where we are, and I'll follow up with Cliff's admonition. Please use it. Take only pictures, leave only footprints. But it's ours to enjoy. And that will conclude my report. And I'm going to turn the microphone, or I'm going to ask our township. Are you ready to jump in on something? Do you want to wait till your?
I just have a few brief items is all.
Okay, I was going to have the township attorney speak, and then I'll let you be cleanup man. Mr. Sardi.
A couple things that I wanted to bring to your attention. First, the Rio Road property. The court-appointed receiver, Gene Kohut, has been put in place. All the documentation's in place. All the orders have been signed by the court. Mr. Kohut's accepted the receivership with the responsibilities to report back to the court. We have a meeting set for Thursday morning to review with Mr. Kohut what the desires of the township are relative to the property. That doesn't mean we're going to get everything, but at least there's be an open discussion about treating that property appropriately. The appropriate township personnel have been advised that I believe the township manager and the fire chief will join me at that point. You're all welcome to come if you're interested, but it's just an initial meeting to talk about what possibly can be done, how we can move forward and make sure that Chief Murdoch's still comfortable with the safety of that property while those two buildings exist. Secondly, with the pending lawsuit in which all of you are named defendants, I know that there was a report in the newspaper. Please, the report indicating that we responded with neither admit or deny is one of the three options we have under the Michigan court rules to apply. I have three options. Three options to supply. I can admit, I can deny, or neither admit nor deny, and leave the plaintiff to their burden to prove. So the report that was indicated there is by no means an indication that we're not taking a position. In fact, we're taking a very strong position. I've asked counsel to reconsider the position they've taken in the lawsuit. I've advised them of my understanding of both absolute and qualified immunity under Michigan law for each one of you, for Chief Porcerelli, and for Tony Gray. I've asked politely that it be removed so that the township doesn't incur any unnecessary and additional costs, and that was rejected late last week. So we will proceed accordingly with the court, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you about it personally, or we can go into closed session if there's more detail that you want. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Sordi. Again, shedding some light on the limited information in the ILCAM article. So thank you once again. All right, with that, pass on to the township manager.
Would you like me to start with fun or not so much fun?
Oh, golly. Well, at least this time I've got a choice.
Not so much fun.
Not so much.
Potholes, drainage along the roadways, flooded ditches, Wayne County. So please write this number down. It's something we've communicated to the residents before. 1-888-ROAD CREW. And that number is 762-3273. If you go to the Wayne County webpage, which is waynecounty.com, and go to the bottom right, there's a how do I ... button. Select report, and you can report the road problems. It's very important that the residents do that so it's all part of their database and they track it. We know that the roads have been crazy. We know that with the change in the weather, potholes just pop up overnight. Obviously we cannot take all your calls and refer them on to Wayne County, but take the time and effort to fill out online and/or do the phone calls. They're documented, they're logged, and they're tracked. So, and the good spring, 11 days, 6 hours, and 27 minutes, I believe.
The vernal equinox. Well, regarding your first comment, gosh, the shorter report would be the roads that don't need any repair. But again, as you pointed out, you know, they don't come to the island very often, so if we want our island roads fixed, we've got to point it out to them, because they're not going to just happen by and stop and fix a pothole. So let's get those reports out and make a note of it. And if it isn't fixed, then maybe we'll get a DPS to lean on them a little bit more.
And we'll continue to communicate with them, but definitely a resident leaving an online report or a phone message adds to their database log, and I believe that gets more results.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. William.
That number 1-888 Road Crew, and Road Crew is 762-3273.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. William. All right. Let's see. That concludes reports. We'll open it now to public comment on any subject, 3 minutes. And I'll let Mrs. O'Connor go first.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for your wise words and your valiant attempt. Any resident who's interested in what they're calling the Charter of the Communication Commission, it's the authorizing resolution, Chapter 67, and commissions. You can find it on the new Township website. It is a page and a half when printed. It's not very extensive. I will leave it for people to read. It was amended June 28th, 2010 by the previous board of which I was a member. Mr. Loftus, you did not write it alone. It was put together by the commission with input from the existing commission in place. This commission has several charges: request sufficient funds and resources to facilitate the broadcast of access channels to further develop the public sector uses of the public cable system. B, recommend a detailed budget for the communications department to the Township Finance Director for presentation to the board, which of course happened. Advise the board on franchise requirements and make recommendations to the board regarding to amendments to applicable ordinances or the franchise agreements, because at that point the law had changed and the franchise agreements were no longer in place. D, provide oversight of the cable television regulatory ordinances, Chapter 8293 of the Grosse Ile Municipal Code. I'm abbreviating here. E, establish standards of quality performance and continuous improvement for all township communication media. Right here is the item that takes the commission into the future. It accounts for all township communication media. Those that don't exist yet are implied in here because the commission and the board in 2010 knew that even from the time the Cable Commission was authorized to 2010, communications technology had changed incredibly. And even in 2010, we only had one township website, and now we're looking at having more than one township website with several ancillary sites. And you have just dismissed your commission that can provide you with the oversight. E, ensure that the township communication media remain politically neutral and unbiased in content. G, encourage equitable access to publicly owned communication media by appropriate institutions, groups, and individuals within the township. H, assist the administrator in providing quality programming for broadcast via township communication media. Ensure that a timely, accurate schedule for broadcast events is widely available, included but not limited to GITV and the website. J, when appropriate, to foster cooperation and collaboration with other municipalities to maximize cost-effective usage of assets. That, in a nutshell, is the authorizing resolution with which you seem to have so many problems. Rather than resolve an issue with an investigation and a dialogue before taking an action, this board decided to dismiss the commission, and then to do the investigation and dialogue after. What message does this send to the other commissions of this township? That if commissioners do not toe the board line, their commissions may also be just quickly deferred or dissolved as it happened today. I cannot hide from you how deeply disappointed I am in this board that you chose to pursue such a backward process. It does not bode well for the democratic process that we expect in this boardroom. With one exception, I have lost faith in you as my township board, that you're listening to your commissions and that your liaisons are carrying messages back and forth between commission and the board. I have one final question for you, Mr. Supervisor. Since I don't think I was fired today, my appointment has not expired. When is our first meeting? It is unclear to me and everyone on my commission that I served with how you intend to proceed without the help and assistance of the very people who worked so hard to put communications in the forefront of this township. I wish you well.
Comments noted, Ms. O'Connor. Any other, Mrs. Taylor?
Tammy Travis Taylor. I'm here this evening representing the Groseal Historical Society. I'm here tonight. I don't usually get to come on Monday nights because I have other meetings, and this Monday, fortunately, I did not have to go to that meeting. I want to thank the board and the community as a whole for your generous support of the Historical Society. We recently installed 8 signs on the island. We're part of the Motor Cities Wayfinding Signs. It is a statewide program. It's called You Ought to Know. It talks about the automobile history on Groseal. We've placed 6 signs on the depot grounds, 1 at each of the bridges, the toll bridge and the Wayne County Bridge. These signs, I can't tell you the number of people that it has brought to our location specifically. They've been very well accepted by the community. We've had visitors from all over the state. So with that, I would also like to thank the community for their ongoing support of the Groseal Historical Society Gift Boutique. It is our largest fundraiser we have each year. It continues to grow. I want to thank the community, the vendors, and all of the board members here, because I think I saw all of your shining faces there over the 4-week period. Specifically, I'm going to take a few minutes for public service and thank some very hard workers who pulled the boutique together. I'd like to thank Cheryl Hurt, Dallas Kelsey, Ann Loftus, Jody McGrew, Chad Novak, and Sue Zink. Without their help, we couldn't have pulled the 4-week event or the full month event off. And then finally, I'm going to plug 2 events we have coming up. On March 15th, which is this Sunday from 1 to 4, we have Bowling for History. One of the Girl Scout troops on the island is sponsoring a bowling fundraiser for us at 10 Pins of Trenton. It's to purchase picnic tables for the depot grounds so people can actually come and have lunch there. It's $15 a person. We'd love to have you come. If you're interested in tickets, you can contact me or any of the Historical Society board members. And then on March 28th, which is a Saturday, Carolyn Ashley is returning to Groseal to do appraisals. She is a frequent appraiser on the Antique Roadshow. She's very well respected in the Antique Appraisal Committee. She will be there from 10 to 4, and it's $15 for appraisal, and again, you need reservations. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody, the community, for their support, because without the community, we wouldn't exist. We strive very, very hard to educate and preserve the people of Groseal on our history, because it is... We probably have one of the best, well, I know we have the best community out there when it comes to our history. And thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Further comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Pat Nielsen, 29495 East River. I have two concerns. The first one is as a resident of Groseal. I sat here through this meeting, and I still am not clear. Is there anyone who is actually going to be functioning on the Communications Commission, or is there now a total void in that area? Could you please clarify in simple English what just happened?
There will be no members of the Communication Commission.
Okay, so we now have a void.
Until we decide where we're going with that charter.
Okay. Now, my next question is, I am on the Open Space Committee. I have been trying to work with the Communications Committee, and they have been working very well with me, to set up better information about what we do in the Open Space Group. To whom do I now communicate and interface with?
Township manager.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Nielsen. Further comments? Mr. Clark?
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees.
Nope.
You forgot that?
No, I didn't.
No, he did.
Legal fees on the warrant list dated 3/5/2015 to Katz, Katz, what is it? Sager, Katz, Sager and Katz in the amount of $726 for labor attorney.
726?
Yes.
Okay. Roads. Bartlemar and Highland. Why don't you just take get a hold of Compo and knock those things down there and put gravel on in this spring and fix it correctly? Because right now, it's crap.
Again, not our roads, so we can't.
So
do
what?
that. So, well, it's not that easy, Woody. I know we'd love to be able to.
Manchester wasn't our roads either, but we did them.
Well, and we have to communicate with Wayne County and get their permission to do it. We have our usual meetings. We look at our various roads. Right now is not a good time to look at roads because of the winter. Everything's up and at a rate.
Those two spots have been up for years, and you keep on, not you.
Yeah,
but
I understand.
The board keeps on saying,
but
and it doesn't get done.
If you would give me the exact location of it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Just give me the exact location so I can go out and look at it, Woody.
Look at it. Okay. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Go on Church Road.
Yeah.
Go to Meridian. Make a right turn. Do 35 miles an hour and go to Pennsylvania. Not Pennsylvania, but
yeah. Wow.
You'll have to get the horse though, you'll feel
okay.
it.
Then turn around and come back the other way to Church Road. And you're going to find out where those bumps are at 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, Bridge Road is terrible. We
Bridge
can
Road
go on.
Mr. Clark, come on. You know they're not they're Wayne County roads. You
Yeah,
know
but
how
we
much money we
fixed
have
it.
available. They're Wayne County roads. Yes, we want them fixed. We're way down on the list. If I don't like the looks of your lawn, I can't go fix your lawn because it belongs to you. I don't like the condition of Wayne County roads. I have to ask Wayne County's permission.
Okay, you made an agreement with Cadillac, Circle, and you guys were going to say it was going to cost just $150,000?
180.
Pardon?
I believe it was 180, but you're
Okay,
close.
150, 180, and you were going to do it this year, or not?
No. Wait a
You're
minute.
not going to do it
I'm
this year?
sorry, I've got the wrong roads. I was thinking of Gulfview. What kind of an agreement do we have with Cadillac?
I don't know.
I don't know anything about
LaSalle Court?
LaSalle
Cadillac
Court.
Circle's a
LaSalle
lot
Court. LaSalle Court is a non-issue. I mean, nothing ever came of that.
Nothing came out of it?
The residents never responded to us.
Okay, all right. Let me get this done real fast so we get out of here. Prop 1 obsolete, guiding Representative Glenn and Senator Kobeck to introduce multiple plans to fix Michigan roads. It was clear that voters had fixed our roads in Michigan without Proposal 1. This exposes the false choice peddled by the special interests pushing for massive taxes and spending increases, saying it's either the higher taxes or bad roads. The fact is the House passed a plan to fix the Michigan roads without raising taxes last year. The legislature can now fix the roads without waiting for May 5th, and they can fix our roads without raising taxes. And tentatively, the legislature is to sit on their hands until May 5th and go back to the drawing board, and after the voters reject the massive tax hikes, concerned taxpayer Michigan applauds Representative Glenn and Colbeck for their leadership, da-da-da-da-da-da. So come May 5th, you better vote no.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments? Mr. Page?
Hello, Jerry Page, 8739 Lake Road. I just have a couple questions going back to what you just said, that there is no commission. Correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, all you did was defer appointments and reappointments. The appointments that you will not be reappointing or reapplying don't expire until the end of this month, so I guess technically our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday night? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right, it ends with the end of the fiscal year.
All right, so just technically I wanted to make sure that we had the answer correct for the lady that was really looking. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Page.
Mr. Supervisor, do you, only because he's addressed our meetings before, do you think it might be appropriate or informative to ask Pat Somerville to attend our meeting?
I know how he feels on Proposition 1.
So maybe he could
give an explanation.
An explanation, so we're all getting the same story.
Sometime before, because we've got, the annual meeting's going to be a busy schedule, but I'll shoot for the 1st in April.
That'd be great.
I will, thank you. I will try to make that happen. Convince him he owes me a favor. Comments, final public comments. All right, none offered. Those in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries. I'll call the meeting closed at 9:45. Thanks for coming.